Welcome to Comcast Newsmakers. I'm Steve Mumm. Great to have you along this hour. Lovely day as we are here on location at the Vista Stadium. Spokane Indians working out in the background. You know, almost caught a fly ball, not quite. Anyway, my guest this hour is going to tell you how you can be front and center in the political process and redrawing the legislative boundaries in Washington State. It's Dean Foster, Commissioner with the Washington State Redistricting Commission. And Dean, tell us how this works, because this is democracy in action. Every 10 years, we make sure that the people in the political legislative district balance out evenly, fairly.
Every district in Washington, 49 legislative districts, and now 10 congressional districts have to have almost equal population. Right now, there's quite a variance because we got the 10th congressional district, and so our job is to equalize that population based on the April 1st, 2010 population, and we use the entire population of the entire state.
And it's interesting because, as you can imagine, this process can be politicized. And in fact, you were telling me in 1982, the legislature used to do this formally, but what happened in 1982 to change
Well,
that?
in 1982, the legislature and the people got tired of it bogging down the legislature. So they turned it over
because it was so partisan.
It was partisan, and it was self-serving, which it may still be, but it took so much time during the legislative session. It really did gridlock this session, and so they turned it over. We're all four very political people, but it's out of the legislative realm and into this smaller group.
So
actually, Idaho has 6 commissioners that do the same kind of thing.
Oh, interesting. So 4 commissioners?
4 commissioners appointed by each of the 4 caucuses in the legislature. We appoint a 5th person who's our chair, but she doesn't have a vote. Her name is Dr. Laura Powell from the Tri-Cities. And she doesn't have a vote, so the 4 of us, at least 3 of us, have to agree on a legislative and congressional redistricting plan.
Interesting. And so it takes 3 votes. You got two Republicans, 2 Democrats. And as you know, in the past, certainly, I mean, they call it gerrymandering, where they'd create a legislative district. I think they looked like a salamander.
It did, yeah.
And you know, if you look at the legislative districts in Eastern Washington, you know, we've got the 6th district that looks like a big C, then here's the 3rd district. It's very unusual, but you know, 3rd district is fairly reliable Democratic, 6th district fairly reliable Republican. But now, interestingly enough, the public has an ever greater ability to influence the outcome, or at least have input into it.
Well, and we have been on 17 hearings, or will have been on 17 hearings by the end of this month in Spokane, where in central Spokane City, that legislative district lost a lot of population, the 3rd, and it'll have to expand in population. Interestingly enough, Eastern Washington as a whole held on to its relative population, so no legislative district will be moving to any other place. It just gets bigger. So
boundary lines could be moving, so a politician who was formerly and lived in one district might find himself in another one.
That well could happen, yes. If they're unlucky enough to live on a border, that can and has happened before. It's not something that we relish, because I believe, the other commissioners, we don't believe that we're in this job to undo the elections. The people did the elections. We're just trying to equalize population. And so we watch where incumbents live and try to keep them from having to run against each other if we possibly can, keeping communities of interest and cities and counties, all of those interests possibly together.
Now, for those people who couldn't come out to one of the 17 meetings where you're taking public input, you've got a website where people can actually go and they can draw their own legislative districts, tell you why they think it's a good idea.
That's right, and we actually, through our commission office at that same place, can send out maps and populations so people could do their own plan, or they can just write us and tell us what they'd like us to do.
And we're going to throw that website up on the screen.
Great.
But that's www.redistricting.wa.gov.
That's correct, yes.
And that is democracy in action.
Well, and in the last few years, with all the computers, people have become a lot more interested in it, especially since we got this new 10th congressional district. And
I apologize. We are going to have to leave it there because I've used up all your time. But thank you so much. I hope you will participate in the process. Stay tuned.